I'm going to call this meeting of the DRB to order, and I'm going to start by going through a very quick version of what most of you heard for the last meeting. This is mainly for your benefit, John. The deal here is that if you want to talk and I can see you, it's helpful if you raise your hand. If I can't see you, if you don't have your camera on, you should send a chat message to Andrew. If any of the DRB members want to communicate amongst themselves with the chat feature, it should go to everyone. Otherwise, we're violating the open meeting law. Everybody should be muted unless you want to speak. And Andrew's going to try to make it so that the people who aren't speaking are muted. So if you find yourself muted, don't worry. Let's see. When we have a motion, I'm going to call for each person individually in order to take a roll call vote. Let's see. Am I missing anything important, Andrew or Brian? Trying to just do the meat and potatoes of it.
I think that's good. Let's offer clarifications if we need as we go along.
Okay. And just for your advice, I'm on my wife's computer, which I'm not as comfortable with, so it's going to be a little tricky for me to go back and forth. One of these infernal maps. Okay. So I'm just going to go through my normal opening comments now. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrative decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, that means we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearings, but instead will look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations or applicable law, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and decision of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board. So I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing. Because we're on the record, I'm going to ask anyone who thinks there's even a tiny chance that they will speak in this meeting to be sworn in. And I'm going to swear you folks in now. If you're on video, it would be helpful if you raise your right hand. If not, I simply ask that you do it and turn on your microphone at the end so that you can say, I do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Realize that because we don't have video, there's somebody whose screen is identified by the letter A and somebody whose screen is identified by the letter HM. A, could you just say your name so we know that you're sworn in? This was the second person who said I do, and it's not John Brunelle.
Well, my name starts with A. It's Amaryah, so I did say I do. So
Okay.
that could be it, but I'm not sure what's on my screen.
Okay, it's you. To me, you appear as an A.
Hey,
Excellent.
James, just to give you a heads up, there's someone with BCTV on here. They're the A person.
Oh, okay. And who's HM, the first person who said I do after John Brunelle?
This is Hillary McAllister, and I said I do.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't have any holes in the record because things are a bit unusual tonight. So I'm going to go back into my standard spiel now. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That means 4 votes out of 7. If we don't have a full board present to hear your application, then we will consider a request to continue your application to the next public meeting. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for an appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town has no special status before this board. Documents provided to us, the board, by the town planning department, town attorney, or any other town department are considered in exactly the same way that the information from the applicant and all other interested persons is. I don't think we have any minutes to approve. Am I correct about that, Mr. Clerk?
You have minutes from the 17th meeting?
We're not going to do this all in one big bundle in July and treat it as one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest? Oh, excuse me, sorry, I jumped the gun. Mr. Bannon, has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
And have any of the members of the board do they have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So, Brian, am I forgetting anything?
I think that's everything, James.
Okay. And just to clarify for anybody who for some reason is listening to this meeting but was not here for the meeting on the 17th, we're doing this in kind of a funky way because the meeting was not as fast as it normally is when we're live. So Mr. Brunelle's application was on the agenda for the 17th, but we didn't get to him. It was looking as though the meeting was going to go until 10 o'clock at night. And we told him, sorry, but we want to take this up at the next meeting. The plan had been for today's meeting to just be a deliberative session on the applications from the 17th. But what we're going to do is, rather than just go into deliberative session, we're going to hear Mr. Brunelle's application first, because he just had to sit around at the last meeting for quite a long time and not have his application heard. And then we are going to go into deliberative session to deal with and discuss the applications from the 17th. Any questions about the process from anyone? Okay, so our only application tonight is yours, Mr. Brunelle, and you've been through this before, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your project? Just a quick heads up, John.
Yep.
We have Andrew Graminsky controlling the screen share. You can see your application, presentation 2020-48, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's what we
Yeah.
all. Oh, sorry.
So, I was going to say thank you, James. Hey, John, I have your site plans on the screen. So just let me know if you want me to zoom in to specific areas of the plan. Just give me a shout, okay?
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, and if anybody wants Andrew to hold or to see something, or you can't read something, he can zoom in. John, that goes for you too. If something on the screen you feel is not clear to us the way it ought to be, tell Andrew. And at least at the last meeting, he was able to make everything function to everybody's satisfaction.
Great.
But you're gonna have to follow his lead a little bit, and he's gonna have to follow your lead a little bit. So just try to keep in mind the push and pull and watch the screen as you talk to us. I know this is strange and sort of disembodied, but we're all still alive, and this is what we've got. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, you can go ahead and put the site plan up if you want. And has everybody on the board gotten copies of the elevations and floor plans and site plan and stuff? Great. So it's basically a small store for retail, and mainly just for display, and whatever is going to be sold out of there will probably be just mail order. I don't think there'll be much stock in the building or anything like that. It's more of a display place. And the other apartments is one apartment on the first floor and then two above it. And that's about it. Somebody had made a note. I did get a list of questions, and one of them said I need to take out one of the parking places that's in setback, right where that one and the one to the right of it. Yep. And just put it where the other green one is, and then I won't have any parking in the setback. So those two extra spaces I had are not required. I just kind of wanted a place for overflow, and it may end up just being regular grass. It'll be just regular grass there, and I still got the parking places I need for the requirements. I think that was about it that we had any questions on. There was a question the fire department had. I don't know if everybody's been privy to that list of things. I think it might have been Ann that made it up. But one of them was a question the fire department had, that the road that leads to the back is only 12 feet wide, right there, and they were citing a requirement in the NFPA requirements that call for a 20-foot wide road. But I talked to Lenny today, and I sent them some information, and they didn't realize that road only fed to two apartments, really just one for the sake of protecting it, because the other one's in the front, and the other one's below it. So there's only really one apartment back there that any emergency vehicles would ever have to get to. And in the ordinance, they noted, which was chapter 18, at 18.2211, it says that if the road is leading to one or two apartments, there is leeway to make the road thinner, so make it not so wide. So I'm going to let Mike Bacassi and Lenny look at all my notes and look at what I sent them today, and we'll do whatever they tell us we got to do. If I got to make it wider, I'll do whatever they want. Does anybody have any questions?
I know we've seen this parcel before. Most of the people on the board have, but can you just orient us a little bit?
Yeah, the original, my daughter and her husband bought the original parcel that has a house on it, almost where the store is right here, almost exactly there. Yep, even goes back a little. They didn't have enough. Heidi wasn't comfortable with the driveway. I think it was Heidi is her name, but she's not the road person anymore. But she didn't think there was enough site if I put the driveway up at the top. So we actually were able to purchase another lot, which let us put the driveway in lower to get plenty of good sight lines. And so now we have a big enough lot to do something with. It was a little too tight last time. It did get approved for a 4-apartment or something, but it really was a little too tight. And now with this extra land and making everything smaller, it works better. That's about it.
All right. If anybody on the board has any questions, I'm trying to open up one of these documents. It's going to take me forever, and I can't see all the video people. So if you have a question, I'm comfortable with you just jumping on.
John, this is Nora on the board. There was a note in furniture standards section about trash receptacles. Yes. And where they were going to go. Could you adjust that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if town of Brattleboro picks up there because there's so much commercial around there. So if they don't, then we will hire Triple T Trucking, just like we do at our development right up the road. And everybody will just put their trash out on Thursday morning for the trash truck. That's what I plan on doing right now. There's probably no real need for a dumpster The store is not going to create any trash at all. And the other ones are really going to be just probably 55 and older people, and probably won't produce much trash. I haven't had any problem needing a dumpster up at my other place, so I don't really anticipate it. But if I have to get one because they're not allowed to pick up trash on that road or something, I'll get one, and we'll figure out a place to stick it. Did that answer it?
I was going to say, where are you going to put it? Even for the apartment people?
Well, I really don't need one, so I think maybe I'll stick with my first answer. We're not going to have a dumpster that I know of.
Okay.
I don't think I need one.
John, this is Maya Hasagawa on the board.
Hi, Maya.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
So when they put their trash out, where do you anticipate they would leave it?
Well, there's a big, right where those four trees are at the top. There's a lot of flat lawn right in there. It's 5 or 6 feet wide before it starts to pitch. I mean, it's actually like 20 feet wide right there, but it's not pitched very much. It's almost flat, so that might be a good spot for them to stick it.
Yeah,
so
that way
yeah.
a truck wouldn't have to actually come onto your property.
Exactly. Yep. Just like they do now. They just pretty much all in town they do it. Everybody in town has got trash pickup.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
This is Ian Keel on the board.
Okay. Hi, Neil.
Ian, that's all right.
Oh, Ian. Oh, hi, Ian.
I drove past this property the other day. I presume I saw the right property because there was the P permit sign in the window.
You did.
Okay. And then from looking at where the driveway exists now, is that essentially where this new driveway would enter and exit the road?
No.
Okay.
If you look at this site map and you see where the store is, you could just kind of imagine that's the same spot that house is at. Okay. Almost exactly. So the drive is actually quite a bit lower. It's probably 30 or 40 feet down the road coming in from where the house is now. At least, maybe even more like, well, I bet it's more like from the edge of the house, I bet it's about 65 feet to where the driveway goes in down the road. So it's quite a bit lower. It really helped with the elevations. And then how would that relate in your, I can't quite remember from when I drove by, but how would that relate to the entrance to the, isn't that the VFW there? Yep. That's a good question. It's across the street and it's down further. I Google Earth the two driveways and it came out to about 100 feet. But when I, offset by 100 feet, but when I was actually down there, it's more like 80 feet. So I think they called for 30, but it's actually up to 80. Thank you. That's all. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, there you go. James or Andrew, somebody's waving their hand.
Catherine,
Yeah,
you should just jump in. I don't think he can see you.
No, I can't look at a document and look at the video at the same time. It's frustrating. You just go ahead.
Go ahead now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. John, I'm still concerned about the trash situation. If in that upper corner where you pointed to where you want to put it, the way the trucks pick up the trash, it's done mechanically. They have to either do it forward or sideways. Actually forward, because we have them pick up here. So how would the truck do that? It would have to run across the grass.
Oh, Oh, no, it'd be like, just picture any house in Brattleboro. The truck just pulls up beside it. He gets out. He grabs the trash from, I put a couple little cement blocks there or something they could set it on, and he throws it in the truck and he puts it back and he drives along. I'm pretty sure that they well, I know in my development, they get out of the truck, walk across the lawn, they walk across, it's by the end of the driveway. It's anywhere there. If they had problem with it, I would just ask them where they would like to pick it up, along the road, because the road's really pretty wide right there. And a lot of the grass is, our property line's out there. There's still plenty of flat areas. So I think they could get off Black Mountain Road as easy as any street in Brattleboro and do what they got to do. But if we need to pick a spot for a dumpster, just in case we ever think it could be a problem, it could, I don't know, it could be where one of those parking places is in the back right there. The two that I'm going to take out and make into lawn, I can just put a little shed around it, put it up there. It's not parking anymore. So, that would be fine, but I'm probably going to not do that. I'm probably going to stick with the normal.
Well, I think you're making an assumption that people who are 55 don't make garbage. Seriously though, you've got 3 apartments there. You've got 3 apartments plus the retail store, and they're going to have some kind of packaging that they're going to have to throw out. And not only that, but now that Vermont has passed a law, not only that, but you have to do composting. So you really, to me, I don't think it makes much sense not to even consider the fact that you're not going to have a dumpster or any type of composting situation.
Okay, that's fair. What I'm going by is I have 50 houses. They all have senior citizens in them, and I left 2 garbage cans in their garage when they moved in, and every one of them said we only need 1 small one. And sure enough, every Thursday when they come by, there's a little bag out in front of each one. But I'll try to think of a way that I could fit a small dumpster in there if I really needed it.
Right, but right now we're in lockdown, and a lot of people are making more garbage than they normally would because they wouldn't be at home all day. So I think that you might want to consider the possibility that you may have to have a dumpster.
Okay, I'll consider that. If I have to have one, somebody on the, if that becomes a requirement, I would rather it not be a requirement because I think it's too much. I don't think I need it, and that's my experience. I've been a landlord for 44 years now. So I'll just, whatever happens, whatever you guys come up with, we'll do it. But I would like to try the other way first. The fella that's going to have the store has his own other business in another part, in another, in Guilford, and he'll probably just throw anything he has in his truck, take it home. I doubt he'll put anything out by the road. But that's okay. That's my feelings on that.
I'm not sure a dumpster is going to help in this situation because people are going to want to, 1, they're going to recycle, 2, we have to compost.
Yeah.
And 3, you have to put trash out. And I think that if you make provision along that area, everybody on my little street puts out their stuff every Monday, well, actually every Sunday night. And most of them put it out on the edge of their lawn. And the truck comes along. He does one side and goes down the street, and he turns around and he comes back and goes up the other side. And he doesn't have any trouble picking up stuff. People put out 2, 3 recycling bins and their compost cart and their bag of trash if they have trash. And it doesn't seem to be an issue. And I don't know what would go in a dumpster anymore.
Yeah, that's true. It would probably make more of a problem. I can make a nice little area there where, be flat and they could all put it right together in one spot. So the truck doesn't have to stop only at one spot. And, that I think that would work.
Mr. Chair, I had a comment and then a question. Is the in?
Shoot, another one. I'm back on so you can see people, so
Okay.
that problem is now gone, but go ahead.
I think hearing fellow board members, and this, I guess, is a comment maybe directed at the applicant, his suggestion perhaps of a shed, I'm wondering if a locking shed may be useful, something dedicated where there could be compost bin, recycling bin, trash bin, and then ideally with locking so that it doesn't attract wildlife. That's simply a suggestion which was triggered by what the applicant had said. And then this is a question not to the applicant, but is anyone aware or could clarify to me trash pickup or curbside trash pickup in Brattleboro, all households it's available for, but I do understand if a certain number of apartments, once there's a certain number of apartments, then the town no longer does curbside pickup. I didn't know if anyone on the board or in the planning department is aware of this. I'm unclear myself. That's why I raised the question, not necessarily to the applicant.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Because it has a retail store in it, would be considered a commercial building and not have pickup.
Yeah, so in that case, we would hire Triple T Trucking like we do now at our other development, and they would do they'll do the compost, the trash, and the recycling. And a shed might be a good idea, just so nothing's ever out there unsightly. I mean, I almost like the sound of that too. So we could consider that.
I think I saw Catherine with her hand up. Was that a hand up, Catherine, or were you just scratching your? You're muted, so I can't hear you.
Okay. I was just answering Ian's question. It's anything over 4 apartments. If anything up to 4 apartments, they'll pick up. After that, then the landlord is responsible.
Yeah, but not here. You heard that from Brian?
Because it's commercial, I believe is what Brian said.
Right. Yeah,
I know. It's the response. Okay.
Yeah.
But thank you for the other answer.
Welcome.
Other questions from members of the board? Are there any members of the public who came to speak about this application? I'm going to take that as a no. If somebody who's a member of the public is trying to send a chat or something, I don't see it. Andrew, you're not getting anything, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay. John, is there anything else you'd like to say, or does the board, the members of the board have any questions for John?
Well, I don't have anything to say, I don't think.
Okay. I can't tell if Catherine left her microphone on or she just popped it on in order to say something.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Are there any issues people on the board want to discuss before we take a vote on the application? Okay, having that in mind, does anybody wish to make a motion related to this application?
James, I have a question. Are we going to vote now, or are we going to vote on everything in deliberative session?
I thought we were going to do this application all together. Brian, if there's some reason that doesn't make sense, I don't want to do anything foolhardy here.
If you folks think you have consensus, there's no reason not to proceed.
I sort of think we do, but it's a little bit harder to read the room when my room is physically separated from everybody else's room. That struck me as consensus, but you probably want a condition in there that he puts some suitable, outbuilding or structure for the trash or
Yes.
or something. Am I correctly Reading it. Okay.
That's how I feel.
I see thumbs up. Ian's got an index finger up. I'm not sure what to make of that.
I want to, Mr. Chair, I was wondering if this might be one of those examples of a motion, and that the trash issue could be dealt with as an administrative issue. Is that something that makes sense?
Yeah, we could say, that he creates some space for the trash, to be approved by the zoning administrator. I think Brian understands, what the issue is. I just want to make sure everybody agrees with that, because someone might be saying, no, that's a horrible idea. So
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve Mr. Brunelle's application. And I can't remember the number of it.
So I just threw it out.
2020-48.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Nora. And with the condition that he work with the zoning administrator on a building for small shed or something for trash, and that he continue to work with the fire department on the size of his driveway.
Yep.
I second.
okay. So I'm going to do a roll call through everybody. And if you're on the phone and I miss you, please speak up. So Maya,
Yes.
Ian,
Yes.
Nora,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Michael.
Michael.
No,
Michael.
Michael. I have to slide the bar to people, pardon me. And the thing is, you're kind of in the dark. So Michael,
That's me. Yes.
is there anybody who doesn't have a video that is calling in? Okay, and I'm going to vote aye as well. So I believe we have the application passes unanimously 6-0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate your coming to this meeting, and sorry that the first one did not go as planned. Have a nice night.
You too. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Take care, John.
You guys too.
Okay, now, my preference, and if people don't want to do it this way, I'm very open to suggestion, but I think we have people here on at least one application. Do we have people here on both applications?
Here you go.
Let me formally ask that question to Andrew, since I think no one knows who I'm asking.
Do you mean, I think the Pendlebury folks are here. Do you mean the Evans as well?
Yeah, it doesn't look to me like Evans is here yet. And
no, it does not.
Yeah, so my thought is if he told us he's coming and we've got some Pendlebury folks here, it makes sense to do the Pendlebury application first.
So James, just to, I have to stop the recording when we go, if we have a different link for the deliberative session, which we were going to use. We were going to basically pick everyone out here, and then we were going to reconvene in that new section video, which I would start up. So were you thinking that we would just stay here and then do it, or did you think that we would move to the other platform?
Well, while we're on the record, Brian, is there any reason I think someone might have come here to give testimony tonight. Is there any reason they can't give their testimony?
Oh,
No, you should reopen both hearings for the two applications. Take any testimony from people who are here, enter any written stuff into the record, and close out. And then when both are taken care of, do deliberative session.
Thanks for the clarification, Brian.
Okay, so I'm gonna reopen the hearing on Pendlebury, and if anybody on the board wants to say anything or ask any questions first, I'd like to know that. But what I really would like to do is make sure the members of the public have an opportunity to give their comment, the ones who came here. So do any members of the board want to address the application first? Let's start there. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You actually are very dark on my screen, but Michael, yes.
I have one question. I know the applicant had been asked about the proper turnaround for safety and everything else. Has the fire chief been asked any of this stuff as far as the safety of this place going into position where it is? I've looked through my files and I haven't been able to find anything on that.
Fire didn't raise any concerns.
But they were involved in some way?
Andrew can confirm this, but I believe they were copied the application.
Say again, Brian. Whoever has a fan in the background, could you mute yourself? Thank you. Thank you, Amaryah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Was that, I'm assuming that question was asked if the fire chief had come to my property to see about it? Yes. Yes, the fire marshal actually did come and do a whole walk around as part of the procedures for the state of Vermont's licensing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any members of the board?
I can also.
Oh, sorry.
I can definitely get a copy of that to the board if they so require.
Okay, so I don't see anybody raising their hand on the board. So first of all, I'm sorry, Maya, go ahead.
There was a memo from Chief Bukasi, and all it said was that she had to check with the Division of Fire Safety for applicable permits.
And one of our standard conditions, Michael, is that all the applicant have all the permits from fire safety. Amaryah, did you want to make a statement before I open us up for public comment?
No, I believe that I had sent in the information that I thought was important, and Mr. Bannon said that he would send it along. So I do believe that everything kind of got forwarded to everyone. You know, my just real hope that I can continue providing the best child care possible to as many kids while being safe and respectful for the town.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to members of the public. If you're a member of the public, either raise your hand if I can see you, or send a chat to Andrew if I can't. I see, is it Haley Druschel?
Druschel, yes.
Druschel, sorry. There were
no
two
problem.
I picked the wrong one.
Not a problem.
Druschel, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you again for letting me speak. I did speak spontaneously last week, a bit more prepared this week now that I have a little more information as well about what's going on, but I am a parent of 2 children that have been at the Natural Child School, each at different times to kind of share one slot. I work at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital as a diagnostic coordinator and as their lead nuclear medicine and diagnostic cardiology technologist. So I know I had spoken last time that I work at BMH. I didn't share what I did. I did send in a letter, as I know many folks did in the neighborhood as well as parents. So I'm sure you have read that. I just want to expand on that because the more that we kind of we're talking about what was going on and really the rebuttal kind of the abutters was I'm not really sure why the noise or number of cars is being so thoroughly discussed as if that's the issue, because I feel that's not the issue. I feel that's the baseline. And the issue is really, when you boil it down, the potential of adding that one more vehicle driving by, at 8 miles per hour to and from twice daily, Monday through Friday, which are normal business hours. And these are brief trips that happen during clumps of the day, during drop off or pickup times. There's no weekend, no night hours or anything related to the child care traffic wise. And that's, potentially one car. I say that because that's really what's in question. And I just wanted to share that, frankly, I feel this is a weak complaint against the Natural Child School to kind of hold it back. I feel it's a distraction to what's actually happening, and that really is limiting the child care. And obviously, in my opinion, I feel it bugs the abutters that there's a business above her or up the street, so to speak. But I feel that's abundantly clear. I apologize. He was in bed. But I understand that the rebuttal is more, they're trying to, from what I understand, they're trying to kind of pull the focus and say they're not trying to limit childcare, but I just want to share that they 100% would be limiting childcare for the community and the workers that support the community, such as myself. I do not live in town. However, I do obviously support, the town by working at BMH, but I'm not quite sure how they can claim otherwise, or how it can be twisted in any sort of way that that's not the case. Perhaps it sounds bad when it's said out loud, or it's unintentional consequences of it, but that's what's happening. And I do say, again, potentially adding a vehicle, because, if this was resolved, say last month or the month prior, I would have been able to bring both my boys to Amaryah's at the same time. And that obviously wouldn't cause any additional vehicle noise, traffic, or whatnot. It would be the same. And there's many siblings, I wanted to point out, that are in Amaryah's care or that need care, so it's not out of the norm. And also, my family's time is temporary there, so she, which I think I really touched on last time, was how important and how how she did such a great job for my family. How many other families will this one slot, one body, one child, one slot touch as time goes on? And since it's just adding that one body at any given time, it could be, multiple families each week. So the one slot in question has a ripple effect, and I just don't want that to go unnoticed. I think it needs to be recognized. And honestly, when I spoke last week, I genuinely had no idea that the dispute and what was in question here was over that one additional slot. And I really did think it was a joke. I'll just be blunt about it. And I know the abutters, as I said, Emma, Miss Higley, I've said it, before, we worked together for years. We're Facebook friends. She's been to my house for a barbecue. I wish her well. It's not anything like that. But at the same time, it does not change the fact that I feel this is truly ridiculous and making really Amaryah jump through hoops that, I feel as a parent is frustrating because that does carry on to us. This really isn't just her problem. But this isn't giving an inch where she'll take a mile. From what I understand, Amaryah's septic can only handle this many people that she's asking for. There's no additional request to be made after this, is what I'm getting at. She's made the adjustments to keep compliant with things. She's made significant upgrades to the space. The space looks fantastic. Really stellar for a in-home daycare, to be completely honest. And I assure you, between my two kids, my oldest is 6, I've looked at a lot. And she's actively trying to improve issues that may arise. She's proactively already received quotes for paving. This isn't like she's saying, yeah, I'll do it. She already has. She's already trying to go out there. I looked online, and again, I am just, amateur here just trying to snoop online, but the Vermont wetlands inventory map, I know wetlands had come up when I first came into the meeting late last time. There was a question about that. I didn't see any wetlands on that space, at least on the map to the public. And then I read up on the rural residential zoning of the area. And there are many things listed under permitted uses that could bring noise and traffic much worse than in-home childcare. They listed retirement housing, religious facilities, camping establishments, golf courses. Again, I mean, I'm still convinced the highway is much louder than the cars going 8 miles per hour, which I assure you, I look at it every day, twice a day, and really 4 times. But I am looking at it every time I go through. But, I digress. Well, on second thought, I did see the video that I believe was shared. It was 7 minutes and 36 seconds of at the end of the right of way. And quite frankly, if you watched it, I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to see it. But as I was watching it, I'm sitting there thinking, how many times did I think a vehicle was coming? But they never did. And quite frankly, that happened multiple times, and it's because there was noise from the highway. It was a constant hum, like a sound machine. I mean, it literally sounded just a constant hum in the background, like we put in patient care areas so it's more private, because it's just this noise in the background, just a constant noise. And the first vehicle that drove by, I can't remember what it was, maybe a Forester. I don't know. It was the first vehicle that drove by on the main road. And that was significantly louder than the 2 black SUVs that turned onto the road, that turned onto the right of way, excuse me, because they were obviously already slowing down to make that turn in preparation for the turn. So I don't know. Plus Monday alone, I can say we witnessed 2 ATVs go up and down multiple times up and down the road within 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes is how long I was there. And that was causing more dust, more disruption, than any vehicle. So essentially in closing, as you make your decision, I would please really strongly urge you to keep in mind that a vote in allowance positively touches many. And in my opinion, this complaint is really being used to target the business as a whole. Again, I don't think that they're thrilled in general that there's a business there. But perhaps, she's targeting more of the childcare because that's, the other disruptions are essentially untouchable, but to make a big hubbub about potentially one more vehicle to and from the Natural Child School daily, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's absurd. And I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out again and to read all of our letters. I think everyone really appreciates the opportunity to be heard and really voice our opinion. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to be heard?
I had sent a chat that I would be interested in speaking.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hillary.
So my name is Hillary McAllister, and I'm a mother of 3 children, a 1-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 12-year-old. I'm also a registered nurse locally at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. And recently I've been redeployed from my normal position as an RN on the med-surg floor to the respiratory unit to handle specifically COVID-19 patients from the arrival at our ED to their successful recovery and departure home. I'm here today basically speaking to advocate for the amazing care my children have been fortunate enough to receive at the Natural Child School, which is run by Miss Pendlebury. As it's known across the country and here in Vermont, specifically Brattleboro, we lack readily available childcare. More importantly, the ability to have a good quality childcare makes the pool to choose from even less. In Brattleboro, there are 16 providers that offer either in-home care or are through a licensed provider. Do you know how many of them have openings for infant care? It's 1. And how do I know this? Because I got a call last month stating that there was a spot for my son. I put him on the wait list when I was 3 months pregnant, and he's now 20 months. As a single mother providing all the financial support for my household, how would it look to call the hospital and say, I can't find childcare and I'm unable to return to work until it's settled, knowing that that wait now could take well over a year, let alone through the worldwide pandemic we're going through. Now, thankfully, this didn't happen, and I was able to reach out to Amaryah, tour her daycare facility, and start my son when I need to go back to work for my maternity leave. Through my time at Amaryah's, my youngest child has always been well taken care of. He thrives socially. He knows more sign language than I do, which has required a few video chats from Amaryah to understand him. But most importantly, I trust Amaryah. And as a parent, you know that trusting the person taking care of your child is of utmost importance. What makes her even more vital is that when COVID-19 hit us locally and I got mandated to stay later than 3 o'clock, and I was now becoming my older children's teacher on top of my already full-time plus job, Amaryah has stepped in and provided amazing support and gone above and beyond what anybody would do. Her daycare center was deemed essential by the state of Vermont, and therefore she was able to stay open for me. This also allowed my 2 older children to attend her daycare. And every day at drop-off, she would set my 2 oldest children up for their academic day required through Zoom. She followed through in making sure they completed their work and always gave me a report about what needed to be finished on top of running her business. With other children, there were times when I would supposed to work till 3 and she'd stay open, and and she always would say, "Don't worry, I've got your back." I can't express enough gratitude to you folks about the important part she has played in the role for me as a parent, but also as a nurse and for my children. And even before COVID hit, I had to take a class down and get out to provide the family to continue my education. Without her ability to do that, I would not have been able to take that class. I think everyone who has spoken on behalf of her could fill you with the amazing stories of what her daycare has provided their family, the relief, comfort, and support towards the development of our children. I have a lot of, empathy for what Ms. Higley's going through, but her complaints seem really small in a world that's going through so much, especially with our national pandemic. Sometimes I wish I had the time to be upset about possible dust or noise on the freeway that I willingly moved into. But in reality, my stressors come from keeping somebody alive. I heard in the last meeting, Ms. Higley mentioned her new diagnosis. I'm not sure if she's aware that the business in childcare that she is trying to demolish provides care to the children of the very people who have been her coworkers and work at the very hospital where she may have or will in the future receive any treatment. I don't feel that, this is not a courtroom and there's no money for her to be had. I'm trying to understand what the purpose and goal of her putting up so much barriers to Amaryah's business that supports not only this community, but Amaryah's very own family is. The town already approved Amaryah to open up her child care program. Now she's wanting to provide more for the community in a good quality child care by adding one more slot. She's been a thriving community member, a loyal friend, and a great influence to provide care for our youth. And over the last 6 months, I personally have been fortunate enough to talk about her and her amazing program on the news, WCAX, which was broadcasted on television. I've spoken to local authorities as well as newspaper reporters about the amazing impact of good quality childcare received from Amaryah Pendlebury is making on our community. And I just ask the board to really think about the greater good of our community and its needs when making a decision. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? And if there are, I probably didn't swear you in, so you're going to have to let me swear you in. I think I see one.
Speaking if there's a chance for the public to speak.
Okay. What do you want me to call you, Ann or Miss Kaplinka Laura?
Ann is just fine.
Okay. Ann, I'm going to swear you in. Okay, raise your right hand, please.
Okay.
You hereby swear that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury.
What do I say? I do, I swear. Yes.
Yeah, as long as it's some form of yes. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm guessing most of the people on the board read my letter. I am a, former middle school teacher at Brattleboro Area Middle School. I'm a current early childhood educator at Early Education Services, and my 2.5-year-old son goes to Amaryah's Natural Child School, and he's been there for roughly 1.5 years now. So I don't want to take a lot of time. I think most of the points have been made already, but as a community member and a parent and an early childhood educator, I find that the benefits of a program like Amaryah's are just so numerous from so many different perspectives. I talked to a person that works at our child care center, Kelly Van Leeuwen, who's our nurse and has been working overtime in the COVID pandemic. She lives right near Amaryah. She's a neighbor, and she's strongly in support of Amaryah staying open as a neighbor. I talked to another home care provider who I think provided a letter as well, Christina Shea-Anye, who would not have been able to open her own home care early childhood facility without Amaryah's support. I mean, Amaryah really is a community member and a positive community member in so many ways. And I feel like it would be a shame to get in the way of expanding childcare and that positive community support in any way. So other than that, I think I would just be reiterating what other folks said. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? And again, I'm going to have to swear you in, so don't just start talking. Just let me know if you wish to speak. And Ann, can you mute yourself, by the way?
Yeah, certainly. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay, I think there are no more members of the public. Do any members of the board want to ask questions or comment? Okay, Ian, go ahead.
I just want to, my question is based off of, this is the memorandum. It's dated June 16th. It was from Andrew Graminsky, the planning technician, I'm sorry, is his title. Applicant is seeking conditional use approval to operate a child daycare for up to 12 children at her home at 26 Fort Dummer Heights Road. She currently operates a family child care home with 6 children. In its current configuration, the family child care home is exempt from local regulation by state statute. So I just wanted to make that clear on the record that the town didn't have to approve a family child care home because state statute makes under 6 or up to 6 children exempt from local regulation. And reading the document further, the applicant is seeking to expand the number of children to 12, and as such, the use is no longer exempt from local regulation. The new use, child daycare, is a conditional use approval in the rural residential zone. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear of what triggered the reason this board is hearing this applicant. It's simply the matter of the number of children makes the designation of the child care different from what was allowed under state statute without the town being involved. And now the Development Review Board needs to consider this as a conditional use. So that is understood. I'm just trying to understand from some of the public the terminology of one more student. I'm trying to understand that there was, if we're talking about approving a increase from 6 children to 12 children, I don't quite understand why that terminology was used. And if
Ian, can I address that?
Yes, thank you, Andrew.
So the language is meant to say up to 12 children, not she's gonna have 12 children. There's the allowance to up to 12. Amaryah.
Andrew, you just muted yourself.
Oh, that was all. Amaryah can go on. That's all I had to say.
Oh, okay, that was a quick mute. Amaryah, go ahead.
So I, in the letter that I had sent to the board, I tried to explain, and this might help also explain why the community members say that it technically is just adding one more child. So in my letter to the board, I explained how it kind of is seen as far as looking at the state versus the town and conversations I had with Mr. Bannon. So the way that a registered home child care has, which I have licensing for, it's 6 full-time students from birth until age 5 before they go to kindergarten. And then I'm allowed to have 4 children from the ages of 5 until 13. So that equals 10. Generally, they're during school, the school year, you know, I only have 6 full-time kids. Kids start leaving, maybe picking up from the bus. But if the state were to walk in, I'm allowed to have those 10 children. So the possibilities end up being kind of changed. So, you know, I'm asking the board, because of my septic tank, to only have 11 children would be 1 more child than what I am currently allowed to have. During school vacations and summertime, I am allowed to have those 10 children full time, because that's the nature of how it is run. So the way that it gets to be configured, it's up to my choosing. It could be 11 children if I was approved. It could be 11 children from the ages of birth until age 5, or I could have certain slots for younger children and then have the after school kids. So it would be the maximum of 11 children, compared to right now, well, even, you know, as soon as the governor opened up childcare to have more children, June 1st, I was allowed to have 10 children at my my childcare. So it would only be adding 1 more child than what we are seeing right now and experiencing.
Maya, go ahead.
Can you explain to us the reports from the DCF that when they did inspections in January, March 6th and March 12th, they found 12 and 13 children?
The site visits were accurate. It was made in poor judgment, and I have, you know, it was a very poor judgment on my part. It was not anything to do with the safety of the children. That is why I'm currently still open. The staffing that I had was accurate. The licensing wasn't there to support what I was doing. It had nothing to do with the safety of the children, which is very important to note that if there was safety, you know, if I was by myself with 12 children, then they definitely would have closed and been like, you're done, that is not safe. I had the adults there to watch the children. And again, you know, it was poor judgment. I have been in close contact with the licensing, the state regulators, the licensing, to make sure that I'm doing absolutely everything to follow. That's why I am, you know, asking, you know, I can't apologize enough to what I've done, you know, like put the parents through. And honestly, it was solely that I tried to make more of a need, and I went about it the wrong way. And that is why I'm here. I'm putting everything on the line. I am, you know, doing this with, you know, using so much of my time instead of saying, you know, I'm done, I'm just going to stick with the 6. My heart just sees all these children, and you know, how many children I turn away, these families that I turn away that just desperately need care, especially right now with the COVID-19. And I am turning them away. I mean, I welcome any of the board members to stop in at any regular time and check it out. I mean, it's really.
Can I make one thing really clear quickly? I'm happy that your daycare is safe. I'm sure that's the case. We shouldn't be considering its safety. I suspect the reason Maya asked you that is because she wants to know, is the traffic that you're saying is going to be there, which is within our purview, actually the traffic that will be there, you know, in the long run, even if it's not the case the day after you might receive.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. You know, so I honestly, I don't have the families lined up because I'm in waiting for the board. Like I said, I'm following everything that I can. So I'm not sure exactly, like I said in the letter, that right now serving 10 children, I only have 6 families. So that is really a reduced amount of car traffic. I mean, Nora went over like how you look at the trips back and forth last time. So that would be 24, I'm pretty sure. If I can math plus 2 staff, they would just go once in and once out. So that would be about 26 car trips. You know, myself, I end up going to pick up lunches for the childcare produce for the family. So I might leave and come back, and that would be directly in use also. That'd be 28 trips, which I believe would be a considerable less amount of car trafficking back and forth between the road. Like I said, also with the paving, that would cut down on the dust. I am interested in helping Ms. Higley be very comfortable. I'm happy to plant bushes alongside the road in between the house if the board chooses to really cut down on noise and dust, you know, anything that they might feel is necessary to help with that.
Michael, go ahead.
On the, we did get a copy of the your paving. On that, it doesn't really say how wide they were planning on paving. A quote. It just comes up with a number.
Right. It would be square footage.
Would that be the 11 you heard about before?
I believe last week I stated that it would be about, Mr. Bannon and I had looked at the numbers. It would depend, it would be the shortest amount of space between, there's one little in-cut where the right-of-way is. It would be keeping the right-of-way exactly where it is, the width of it. It would end up being, I believe, 11 feet with shoulders on either side. And that would only be because of that cut in one slot, that to make sure that we're not ruining the wetlands or having to go over on the side and cutting into the lawn of Miss.
Thank you.
Okay. Have we gotten all the members of the public who wish to speak on the record? I see you, Catherine. I just want to make sure I'm covering everybody. Okay, I think we have. Catherine, go ahead.
I'm muted. No, my only, it's not exactly a question, it's more of a comment to the, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. To the young woman with the doing a job with childcare. Because there is no school and you don't have after school, are you now having to take care of the children that you had after school there all day?
Yes, that is how the state sets it up, so that since no school, then I have the children after school for all day. Right? Yes. So the answer would be yes. I have 10 children here all day.
And the other children are off and on because their parents are working. Is that correct? I mean, if they're not there all day, do they have different hours? I know some of the women that spoke worked at BMH, so they must have different hours to come. So you don't always have a total of 10 children.
No, it usually starts off pretty small. You know, there's 3 women that work at BMH, and so they come, they're the earliest ones. You know, they're spread out between about 15 minutes of them coming. The video that I sent in actually shows 2 of the cars pulling in. They're coming from BMH. The timestamp, I believe, says like 3:30 in the afternoon. So then those are the first 2. So
Okay.
so that would be, you know, by when they start picking up, then it'd be a few less children. The goal is to not, I wouldn't be picking up any other children at that time to finish the day, summer hours. That, you know, summer hours are basically, you know, with the 10 children that they're, you know, maybe around noon, I would have those 10 children there, and on either end, parents are dropping off a little bit later and picking up a little bit earlier. So, you know, it kind of is a slow start, heavy middle, and slow ending.
Right. I noticed on the pictures that we received, I don't know if we have it, that you have potential ideas of having a play area being done?
I actually have a play area. It's
Oh, okay.
actually, yeah, it's not a playground of sorts, and I think that might have seemed, it might be confusing, but I mean, because I'm an existing business serving 10 children during the vacations and schools, then, you know, having a play area, but it would not be changing anything in it. You know, our afternoon today was actually taking a walk in the woods that are fenced in and identifying trees and talking about how we can label them and create a little book for them to learn more. And they, you know, that's what I do. You know, they're outside, they're playing, they're experiencing dirt and mud and water and acorns. So there would not be a structure of like swinging and the slides and anything else like that would change the nature of our environment and the wonderful place, which is why I chose this place. It's gorgeous, gorgeous woods for children to explore.
It does look lovely. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, Ian?
Yeah, it's essentially the same question to the applicant. Could you just explain to me again, I guess the family child care home, which was the state statute, could you explain to me again what that statute was prior to the COVID crisis? And then you specifically mentioned that Governor Scott altered that requirement. I just want to get that clear. Am I correct? You would explain that to me, but I just wanted to hear it again.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, so a registered. There's two parts of home child care. There's registered, and then there's licensed. Currently, I'm a registered home child care, serving 6 children from birth until 5 before they start kindergarten, and 4 children from kindergarten age 5 until 13. Then a licensed home can serve up to 12 children. I'm only asking for 11, serving at any given time those 12 children from birth until age 13. Now, when COVID-19 happened, which is why I made a specifically mention when June 1st, but COVID-19, the governor announced that there could not be more than 10 people in a room at the same time, which changed licensing requirements. So therefore, I only served 8 children. Myself and my staff, my family was kept out because, which ended up being lovely, that I have already renovated a space dedicated just for the childcare, which is actually where I'm sitting right now. It was amazing because it lessened the risk to my family in being exposed to multiple people and the ability for me to support as many children as I could. June 1st, or before June 1st, but Governor Scott announced that by June 1st, then childcare can resume basically up to having 25 people in one room at a time, with the understanding with licensing that if you have to follow your own regulations. So for my regulations, 10 children, up to 10 children at a time. And then I can't have any more adults or anybody, else to make it over 25, if that makes sense. No family get-togethers, things like that. So that is why I specified, because I wanted to make sure that having the 10 children I strictly followed the governor's orders.
Okay, any other questions? Ian, are you trying to talk, or are you talking to somebody else?
I was saying that was very clarifying, and thank you. I took notes that time, so I got it all in my head.
Okay, anything else on this application? So Amaryah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just see if there's anything else on the other application before we go to deliberative session, and then we're going to close this and do that, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. So the other application relates to the old Whitcomb's parcel. slash, oh, what's it called right now? The Irish name. Gosh darn. Well, anyway.
Whalen.
Oh, I think it was something else, but that's all right.
Shanahan's.
Shanahan's, thank you. Shanahan's parcel. Does anybody have anything else they want to say, or is there anybody here to testify about the Evans construction application? Ian, go ahead.
Because we had decided to have this additional meeting, I did get a chance to drive by there and see the area, and it became very clear to me that parcel has a lot of space, and I think when Brian sent us the note in our new packet, I think it was pretty clear about, wanting to get sort of a little more detail on how that space will be used. I was actually surprised because I hadn't driven by there in a while, just how large the space is. So I just wanted to share that with the rest of the board.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, in the absence of that, Andrew, can you just make sure everybody knows how to get to the deliberative session area, I guess I'll call it.
So just to confirm with Brian, hey Brian, are we using a different link or is it the same link that we're using for this meeting? Thanks.
That didn't come through clearly, Andrew, but I just sent around by email about 15 or 20 minutes ago the link to the deliberative session.
Can
Okay,
everybody
let me check
and click the link in their email? Is there any reason you can't do that? Yes, Ian.
Can that number be sent to me through the private chat? I'm actually using two devices, and I need the number so that I can use the phone. So I just type it in to the app.
Ian,
yeah.
It would be better if I could send it via another outlet than this platform, just because we're going into deliberative session. Could you not
So
have
you
access
don't
to email? No, I think it's just, I just know from other, when we were setting up DRB meet. You all set?
It'll take me a few seconds, but I will figure out how to do it through
Okay.
email.
So James,
can I ask a question?
Yes, Maya, go ahead.
So we're basically going to close out this entire session and go to deliberative session. So
That is correct.
So we're just all going to log off.
I will kick everyone off and then get to the new link, and then I'll set that up just like this meeting, and then I will. But the difference is that won't be recorded. So James, do we need a motion to close this meeting?
And I don't think so.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Yes, you got a question?
Have any business we need to take care of before we close the meeting?
So,
Hold on, let Brian talk.
No, I think we're all set. Let's just go directly to deliberative. And I would suggest that we start the session at 8:35.
Okay, I will end the recording
at 8:35.
Yep. Yeah, resume at the deliberative session at 8:35, so we all have a chance to have a quick break and make sure we don't have technical difficulties.
Okay, I will open the meeting up at 8:30 for people to trickle in as they go.
so this is the new way to get into deliberative then,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Great, okay. Checking. I move that we close.